Well, this is your splash today on the front page of the Daily Nation. Election loss, not a big deal, says Raila. But you wait to hear also from our panelists what they think. Was it a big deal for ODM? And ODM party leader Raila Odinga says he's not so concerned about the party's losses in Ugenya and Embakasi South by-elections. According to Raila, the best candidates won, and it should not be interpreted that ODM's strength in Nyanza region is winning. At the same time, Ugenya MP-elect David Cheng has said he will use his win to popularize his party, MDG, and cut a niche for himself. Take a listen.
There are no issues at all in ODM. There are no differences in our party. The two by-elections are really like a drop of water in the ocean. ODM remains a very strong and united party. People may be commenting here and there, and that's their democratic rights. Elections are won or lost. So the fact that somebody has lost an election is not a big deal. It's not a big issue. Orengo was campaigning for ODM. Orengo is a very loyal member of ODM. There's nothing, only positive issues about Honorable James Orengo.
So it's all well within ODM, and we want to look at that. And of course, Raila saying this is not a big deal. This is a splash on the front page of the Daily Nation today. No big at all. No big deal. Election loss, not a big deal, says Raila. Opposition leader thinks those ridiculing his party are reading too much into the outcome of the by-elections, which he says were tightly contested, could have gone either way. Are we reading too much into this? Right. Let's introduce our panelists this morning. Alarona had introduced to you Senator Aaron Cheriot, Senator for Kericho County. Also, we do have with us Dr. Otenda Molo, who is a member of parliament from Rarieda. We do have with us as well the deputy leader of Ford Kenya. This is Boni Khalwale. And also we do have with us as well Jacob Medio, the former member of parliament for GEM, and also Senator Kimano Matangi, Senator for Kiambu. Good morning, gentlemen. All right, let's hear from Otende Amolo. This is not a big deal. This is what your party leader says. Are we reading too much into this?
Well, first of all, good morning, Kenya. I agree completely with the party leader. It's not a big deal because, as you would know, it's not even the first time that we have a seat in Siaya that is not ODM. In the 11th parliament, the member for Alego Usonga was not an ODM member, but we recaptured the seat. Even in this very term, there are a number of MCAs from Siaya who are actually independent in my own constituency, and I have 5 wards. 2 of them are independents. So it's not a big deal. People can attribute, and I've had a lot of talk in terms of why ODM lost the Ugenya seat. I've had the candidate, the MP-elect himself, indicate that in his view, he was elected because of his development record. I've had people talk about the money factor. I've had people talk about the organization. I've had people talk about the messaging. I've had people talk about the idea that the voters have now embraced the independence of thought. I've had people talk about a lot of other issues. So in my view, while it's a lesson and a reason for us as ODM to go back to the drawing board and rethink, I think what is important, one, is that the elections were peaceful. What is important, two, is that the people involved have conceded the defeat. And personally, I would advise my friend Chris Karan that the people of Ugenya, having not been fully represented for the last 2 years because of the contestations up to the Supreme Court, it would be a good idea to allow the people of Ugenya to be served for the next 3 years, rather than contest, the results, and to reorganize and think about the next election. I think that the entire idea is that it's a demonstration of maturity in democracy. And I personally do not see a big deal about it. While there were hitches, and there were clear hitches and improprieties in Ugenya, but I would suggest that they are not worth contesting. I would suggest that the focus should be on allowing David Ochieng, now that he's been elected, to serve the people of Ugenya for the remaining period and to refocus on what happens in 2022. I think that while there are a lot of people who will take all sorts of attributes, and I know people like my friend Bonnie Halwale, people like Aaron Cheruiyot, will start claiming that they think it's a it's a victory to them on whatever basis, which I would not understand. But let us take it from the horse's mouth. David Ochieng himself has advised them not to start celebrating that is a victory to them because they had nothing to do with it. And I think that is the truth. I think it is a victory to the people of Ugenya that at least the elections were held, the elections were peaceful. While there were irregularities, they were largely a demonstration of the will of the voters. But I personally do not think it's a big deal, not to the 2022 presidential consultation, not to the ODM party, and really not to many of us.
Right. Aaron Cheruiyot, we have also Dr. Esele thinking that the big brother syndrome is actually the undoing of ODM. What is your take?
I totally agree with Esele on that one, because how, for example, in Embakasi South, the one that was won by Mawathe, ODM and Wiper are in a coalition called NASA. They may be facing difficulties, as is the nature of any marriage, be it real life or political, that they are bound to be those times. But in the spirit of one, the handshake, and also two, respect to your coalition partner. And you should remember that Wiper is just not another ordinary party. Wiper has let ground for ODM on two occasions, in 2013 and 2017, by accepting to be their deputy. The least that ODM should have done, is just to allow Wiper an easier ride in an electoral contest that they had earlier won. In fact, that was the indication we got when earlier on, during the early days after the election of Julius Mawathe had been nullified. One had the feeling, because I saw a photo of former Vice President Kalonzo and Mawathe at Capitol Hill together with the leader of the Orange Party, Raila Odinga. They posed for a photo, and many people imagined that finally Kalonzo had convinced Raila to, at least for once, sacrifice something for him, the way Kalonzo has been sacrificing for Raila in the last two elections. But unfortunately, less than 24 hours later, there was another photo of Edwin Sifuna and Ishad Sumra and a whole team of ODM legislators from Nairobi. And tellingly, the things that they went and said about their coalition partner in Embakasi South tells you what ODM thinks about its coalition partners, that they find them to be junior and inferior to them as a political party. And that was their Waterloo moment. That was their undoing. When you have people like Edwin Sifuna, who don't know what it takes to win an election, but are very loud-mouthed when it comes to what electoral contests are about, then you're bound to fail the way ODM failed miserably in this election. Had they been humble enough, they would have gone, for example, to Ugenya and listened to the people of what the people of Ugenya wanted. But when they went and reduced the contest, I hear Otiende trying to tell us that please don't take credit for this by-election. Well, the issue of us taking credit or not is neither here nor there, because it is not us who made this Ugenya election a referendum. It is you who went and made it a referendum through your SecGen of the party, and you are clear that if you vote for David Ochieng, one, it is as good as voting for William Ruto. It is as good as not supporting the handshake. And if you vote for Karan, it means you support the handshake, and it means you support Raila Odinga. So the people who crafted the question are the least qualified to advise us on what we need to do with the results of Ugenya. It is you people who went and gave us the options. Therefore, what you are doing, we are just as silent about it and enjoying and savoring the moment as we did over the campaigns. We never spoke when you guys were making all those allegations against David Ochieng. Therefore, it's a time of reflection for the Orange Party, whether it is tenable anymore for them to continue selling the brand of politics. You know, Dibal, you remember on many occasions, and I wish also Eseli was here so that he gets a piece of this, because there's a very salient point that Boni Halwale here tries to put across to Eseli each and every other week, but Eseli never seems to get it. That this politics of branding your competitors as, thieves, as anti-reformists, the typical ODM politics from 2005 is no longer fashionable in Kenya. People have lived beyond it, and they've seen that it is nothing more than just hubris. And therefore, they want to hear more of what your plan is for the country, what your plan is for the people whose vote you're seeking, which unfortunately is a lesson that ODM doesn't seem to be learning, and I pray that they don't learn it even from this by-election.
All right, let's hear from Jacob Midio, who was born the brand, of course, of the wars within ODM as well. What was your reaction?
And by the way, we must commend Jacoyo. He called it right on this show 2 weeks ago. Remember the things he told us that you people will be shocked when the results of Ugenya ticked in. I can now crown him as a proper prophet, but only limited to Siaya, not national.
Good morning, but you can't allow Aaron that space to close the window he had just opened a minute before. We were saying ODM has the propensity to label people thieves and all that. He just saw that as a window because, thieves are thieves. And let me remind Kenyans and the panelists that a few years ago, some time back, there was a gentleman called Nyanja, who was the MP for Limuru on an NDP ticket. George Nyanja. And Raila never got votes in Limuru. Then there was one called Paul Muite in Kikuyu, who was Jaramogi's running mate in 92. But Jaramogi never got votes there. And then there was Jeremiah Kioni, who is a panelist here, your panelist on Monday. He was Musalia's running mate, and in his polling station, nobody voted for Musalia. Halwale can attest to that. So the issues in Uganda are not the issues that Cheriot and Halwale or Wamatangi can celebrate over. They are very local issues. Is ODM rogue? Very rogue. That's why yours truly is sitting here. But I don't think it is because Jubilee is any better. I've said here before that...
we'll come to Jubilee. Just concentrate on ODM. For now. Don't vacillate. No. We still have time. Yeah? Concentrate on ODM.
No, it makes a difference if you are dancing over my grave. It is their grave. It's Utiende's grave. So, personally, I feel vindicated. Because when the issues were raised in 2017, when we were raising the same issues which have come to the surface today, we were told we were members of Jubilee. In other words, you are not supposed to have an alternative view. And that is how organizations get rogue. And ODM got rogue. I don't think it can go any further without fixing. The ODM is a political party that has had temporary leadership since the week Otieno Kajwang died. I fail to wonder how temporary is temporary. ODM has a secretariat which is corrupt. ODM ceased to cater for the needs of its membership nearly 7 or 8 years ago. I can say that with a lot of confidence. And I can say this because I'm talking as a Kenyan who was basically forced out. They lured us to go to a nomination process where we paid money and spent money and energy knowing they didn't want us around them. So when I see a bad thing, if I can say Jubilee has problems, why can't I talk about ODM? Because I think the whole purpose of this discourse is to have a better future for our country. And when Raila says that it is not a big deal, you know, I really disagree with Raila publicly. It is a very big deal. Because you do not have, as a political party, the largest political party north of Limpopo River, cannot go to campaign with the 46th most corrupt governor just abusing people, a senator who in parliament for 8 years has never criticized his governor. The senator is the senator of the 46th most inept county. He has never said anything about it in the Senate. Then the MP, the guy who took over from me, is the first MP whose the whole entire CDF committee has been deposed by EACC. Those are the people carrying the ODM message. Then they have a plumber dancer who they just dance, and people are laughing because they are making a fool of themselves. And that's what I said here 2 weeks ago. And they think our people are that stupid in Uganda that they're just going to wake up and vote. That is not the direction we want our country to be. And I want to take this opportunity, since you said I stick with ODM, to advise. For us, it is easier to fix wrong things than to invent new things. These people who are basically sycophants, they must leave Raila alone because they don't mean well for him. If you are a senator, for example, if Orengo is a good man, for example, how is it, or if how is it that he gives ODM 61 votes in his polling station in Urenga, and Uchieng, who is an independent party candidate, gets 204? I mean, you can't go on TV and say he's a good man. I hate to contradict him, but wrong is wrong and right is right. Because many of us who would so want to be good public servants are denied opportunity by corruption within ODM. And how can we fix it moving forward? Suppose Ugenya was not a big deal. What happened in Embakasi? You take a temporary Secretary General, whom I have had the opportunity to tell him, slow down, you are a young man. Some of the things you say have consequences. They get 7,000, they lost by 16,000 votes in Embakasi. And then that cannot, I can't, but it is true. Just before I say that, it therefore goes to say that Orengo is not a good man. Orengo has no positive things about him. For Raila, Orengo can be a good senator nationally. He's a good national leader. Lakini mambo ya kule, because the attempt which they have been trying to meet out on people of Siaya, and Utiende, just give me 1 minute. Utiende has not said it, that now Rasanga becomes our senator and Orengo becomes the governor. People of Siaya, wake up. You must wake up, because that is the senator who is supposed to oversight the governor. If this one has not oversighted this one, at what point do they change the roles? Will this other one oversight the other one? So they want to lastly, to Otiende, Siaya had Omondi Muluan as the MP in Wiper. Wiper was a member of NASA. So it is not true. Omondi wasn't independent of NASA. This thing that people are campaigning together, then you come here and tell Kalonzo, we are under the same umbrella. But there you are labeling his candidate as a Jubilee mall. That is a shame. Because then, as fate would have it, 2 months later, you are the people greeting Jubilee. It's not right on us.
Otiende, you've taken a mental note of that. We'll come back to you. Right, let's hear from Wamatangi. Right, Wamatangi. We have also David Ocheng denying backing from DP Ruto, and he says Ruto allies to stop taking credit.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I've seen.
That is from a Jubilee.
Yes, now, are you saying now you want to confine the debate only, only to Jubilee? Because I heard you caged in Jacoyo to only speak about ODM. Now you only want me to speak only about Jubilee. So I know anyway you want to get the most out of the discussion. Allow me to say one or two things, but I'll comment on that very quickly. One, out of what my colleagues have said here, you know, Dibalo, what some of the things that one would wish that the results of these by-elections are probably what we would want to see or term as our long-term gains. You know, we wish, for example, some of the things said by, for example, Otiende Amolo there, that it is a sign of maturity of democracy. That there are key issues that we've been talking about. We hope that our electorate can see now that it now you would arguably say that people are starting to become independent, you know, in mind and thought, that they can make decisions based on factors that you know, surpass just the ordinary. For example, you know, the elections in Siaya is a big story, and that's why probably I would want to comment on what you said about what this gentleman, the new elect, is saying, but not forgetting, Dibalo, let's remember, vitally importantly, that both candidates who won are actually the incumbents. You know, both of them are the ones who held the positions before, and so you might also want to ask yourself a vital question from that observation, because you might also want to ask yourself, are people, are voters losing the appeal of having their decision second-guessed by people who want to come and contest the results of that election? Vitally, let me make two comments. One, if you look at the background of NASA, and I think that discussion has been there, Boni Halwale has said it severally, you know, when they came together as a party, ODM became the big brother, others played the minor role. But against the arrangement and organizational prowess of Jubilee, who would you say really is a better party organizer? Which is a better party? And I think the results here will tell you, they will tell the story, that it has not helped NASA at all in the infighting, in their organizational structure, whereby the small parties, all of them, including ODM, are contestants within the same party. And opposed to our structure in Jubilee, where we have all parties collapsed into one, and so you can speak in one voice. Jacoyo, what you've said, some of the things you've said are very important. In fact, some of them concerning. For example, Dibal, it would be very worrying if the results, for example, in spite of what Ochieng says, Moshimwa, the one who's been elected, if those results are as a result of voters in Siaya having been disillusioned by the elected leaders in senior positions, for example, the governor, the senator, and other members of parliament, it would be a very huge indictment on the usefulness of our new system of you know, in our new system of the democracy we have under devolution. Mm-hmm. And lastly, I want to say that I think Ochieng can also claim credit. He may not want to do it directly, but he has been helped not only directly, or even if it was not directly by Jubilee or by Ruto, but by Jubilee itself. Because, you know, Jubilee, as my colleagues here have said, we took a position that let them say the things they will say in NASA, let them do the campaigns they will do. We as Jubilee are only going to show up when they have said what they had to say. And they challenged Jubilee. And Jubilee took the position it had to take. And finally, the results speak for themselves. I want to finalize my comments by saying, you know, as we wish them well, let us hope then that this becomes a lesson, that the big brother syndrome, you know, whereby you see that unless you have the backing of Wamatangi, you cannot win votes in Kiambu. is starting to see its death now. That the voters in the counties of Siaya, in the larger Nyanza, can also now think and see things independently and vote for a person that they think will serve them. Because, you know, whether it is Raila Amolo Odinga, whether it is any other politician, the moment we let this continue for beyond where we are today, in our new democratic system, that people will vote just because Wamatangi's presence is there, then we start to lose the whole game. Raila should actually maintain the position he has had. It is not a big deal. Let it continue not to be a big deal, even if another election is lost when his name is still there in ODM. It would be a good sign for him also that he will be living a healthy democracy in his people. He will not celebrate, for example, if another Orengo, if another Amolo came, and also he came to dominate the people of Siaya to a fault. So I believe that freedom, that independence of mind is a very, very healthy thing. And may it permeate the entire country. Such that the people of Mombasa can vote that way, the people of Mount Kenya region can vote independently, the people of Northeastern can vote independently. Then that way we have a good
Thank you. Let's hear from Boni Khalwale. Your reactions also on this particular results from the by-election.
I'm a neighbor of Siaya, Kakamega County and Siaya County. And at 5:30, I was at Sega Market.
5:30 in the morning?
In the evening.
In the evening.
After the voting and the counting had started.
Yes.
And I was struck by one thing, that people started celebrating at Sega at 5:30 at the market that Ochieng has won. And the results were announced much, much later on in the night. It forced me to think about my neighbors. And to me, I've seen 4 people who must be credited with the outcome of that result. The first one is James Orengo. James Orengo helped Ochieng to win. Instead of Orengo focusing on that by-election, he was using it to promote his 2022 ambition to become governor. Number 2, Orengo, experienced and aged as he is, he was telling the voters that a vote for David Ochieng would be a vote for Raila. I mean, would be a vote for Ruto.
For Ruto.
And a vote for Karan would be a vote for Baba. And please don't let Baba down. Even if that was supposed to be the case, then the messenger was the wrong messenger. Orengo. Orengo, because of his high-profile activities in Nairobi, people don't know that as a member of parliament, he was an absolute failure. They're my neighbors, mark you. To the extent that it brings in the second person who should take credit. David Ochieng has been godsend to the people of Ugenya.
But what metrics are you using to say that he was a complete failure?
That is where I'm going now.
Okay.
David Ochieng is godsend to the extent that in the 5 short years that the guy has been an MP, David has brought a technical training institute, a medical training center, a teachers training college,
College of Environment,
and a college of
Forestry
environment,
college.
and a college of forestry. Orengo had done none of the above, despite having been there for so many years.
Including as a minister.
So, when Orengo was the face of what Ugenya wants, people were saying, this guy is blocking David Ochieng so as to take us back to Misri, take us back to Egypt, where we came from, where we were removed by David. The third person was, with due respect, my friend and neighbor, Governor Rasanga. Rasanga was the third person. Why? Rasanga went to rallies and was telling people that if you do not vote for Karan, I'm going to deny you development. The guy didn't know that today is the era of IT. People know what is happening in Makueni, for example, vis-a-vis what is happening in Siaya. In Siaya. Whereas when you go to the seat of government in Siaya, and I'm sorry, Chekoyo, to say bad things about your place.
No, I have allowed you.
Yes. When you go to the seat of government in Siaya, there is nothing going on apart from cattle grazing here and there. But when you go to Makueni, you see an ultra-modern 120-bed hospital actually functioning and serving people. People were not taking it lightly. What's more, Rasanga is leading one of the most corrupt counties in this country. I'm saying with authority, having been with my brother here on Public Accounts and Investment Committee of Senate. There's a lot of pilferage of public funds in Siaya. I had the opportunity, Dibal, to be in the County Assembly of Siaya with James Orengo and the Speaker, and then Ekwe Ithro, Wetangula and others, when we were doing their some assessment as Senate. And you know something? When I stood up and challenged Wetangula to go and inform his co-principals about the failure by the opposition to critique opposition counties that were corrupt. And I gave the example of Kakamega, Machakos, and Siaya, where I was speaking from. The MCS gave me a standing ovation. The fourth person who should take responsibility is the Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga.
Right. On that note, let's take a short break. Then when we circle back, we'll continue with that, Raila Odinga. I'll give you some few minutes on that. Right?
I hope you're not switching me off.
No, I'm not switching you off.
That is where I want to go.
Has it been paid?
Money has been poured. All right, we take a short break right now. When we circle back, of course, we continue with the discussion. Peeling back the orange, right? Is the Orange Democratic Movement, of course, having a future as far as this by-election is concerned? Is it a bellwether of where we're headed to in 2022? Of course, we shall look at this and other stories as well. And also, is Uhuru losing ground in Mount Kenya? That is another story that you want to see, looking at Tanga Tanga and Kieleweke as well in the Jubilee party. So it's all about political parties, and of course, we slice and dice this on the other side of the break. Don't go away. You're watching People and Politics here on AM Live. We promise to circle back with Boni Khalwale on Raila. Okay,
Yes,
Boni.
I was saying that Raila must take responsibility for this outcome for the following reasons.
Yes.
He might not want to believe it, but this is the consequences of the handshake. The ordinary voter is not seeing the connect between handshake and why he should refuse David Ochieng and vote the way Orengo was telling them Baba wants them to vote. Two, this speaks to the dictatorship within ODM. I want to agree with my brother Otiende that this is not the only MP who is not ODM in Nyanza. But all the other MPs who are in Nyanza who are not ODM is courtesy to dictatorship in ODM. David Ochieng was denied an ODM opportunity by Orengo. And Ochieng told me himself, I don't want to speak tribalism on this panel, but for those of you who care to hear, Ochieng is a Luya. So he told me, these people are locking me out because mimi ni mtoto Mluya. Number two, there is Shakir Shabir. He's independent because he was denied the certificate in ODM. Number three, there is Alako Oluoch. He's on Fort Kenya. He was denied a certificate by ODM. Number four, there is Marwa. He was on Jubilee. And finally, there is Peter Masara, who is also independent. So this dictatorship of ODM, Raila, instead of pretending that there's no big deal, he must know that he holds responsibility. Finally, if you have got any doubt that Raila has lost focus, look at yesterday. When he was announcing that this is not a big deal, he was doing it after holding consultations about this outcome with the leaders from Rift Valley. Surely, if he had focus, he should have been holding consultations with the leaders from
Rift Valley.
Oh,
Those are regions.
You can play the clip there again. he had just held a discussion over this outcome
I
with
saw
Nick Salat.
Nick Salat there.
Nick Salat, and then Musa Serma.
Aaron Cheriot is saying these are rejects.
I don't know.
He will tell us. What do you mean they are rejects?
When his time comes.
Losers. They're rejects.
Well, he comes from that place,
Okay.
so we don't understand.
Okay.
So, he then discusses the outcome of Siaya with the Rift Valley leaders, because he was going to tell them Ruto is interfering with Siaya. Can you tell me what is happening? And then he tells people that this was
Thank
no
you. Thank
big
you.
deal. Finally.
No.
Finally.
No, that's
Finally.
it. No, hold on to your thoughts. Briefly, finally.
Finally, I wanted to congratulate the owners of Ipsos in Paris.
No.
They are-
We're going off the rails, please. We'll come to that much later. That is not the
Because
subject.
Ipsos is the one
That is not the
promoting
subject.
ODM dictatorship in this country.
Let's just hear from.
You'll
Aaron
allow me
Cheriot.
to say it later.
For me first.
Was it you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Today-
Today
Just-
is the one day that I want Otiende to really speak. So please allow him to speak.
Okay. Otiende. We'll come back to that.
Dibal, I can understand why my friends and panelists are reveling in the Ugenya issue.
Yes,
It is a short moment of ecstasy for them, to run away from their real problems in Jubilee. But we will, life is such that you'll still wake up and we'll come back to your problems in Jubilee. First of all,
Just let him have his time, please.
I just wanted to remind him,
please.
as he speaks, could he tell us in his talk as to probably why, because you brought that to him. I wanted him to tell us why did Raila choose not to show up in the campaign in that place, because it was in the Ochilo Ayako contest in Migori, he physically went and for it. Could he just probably give us an idea as to
that's
why
not
he
a
chose
problem.
not
I will tell you. And that first is why it's not a big deal. When Raila says it's not a big deal, that is the first answer. If it was a big deal, then Raila would have camped there to make sure the city is taken. It is not a big deal because Raila chose to allow the people of Ugenya to exercise their democratic will independently, because he had no fundamental issues with either Ochieng or Karan. And so when he says it's not a big deal, then at the same time now you are trying to make it a big deal, and then you pose such a question, then it's a contradiction. But let's, first things first. One, I think let us not insult the voters of Ugenya by saying some of the things you people are saying here. The voters of Ugenya made their choice. And Wamatangi, you made a good point earlier, but you spoiled it by your subsequent point. Lately, sometimes when Cheriot or Halwale speak, I know. When Jakoyo speaks, especially on matters of Orengo, I know, because he has historical beef. But you, sometimes, you move from being Wamatangi to Tangatangi. Now,
Today Wamatangi will declare. He's been sitting on the fence.
I've dared him several times in the past. He has never declared. I don't think today will be the day, but let's see. Now, let's not mix issues. Halwale, there's nothing like Orengo having denied Ochieng the opportunity for the ODM ticket. Ochieng is my friend and Karan is my friend. You know, or at least you ought to know, that David Ochieng elected to form the party called MDG before the nominations. David Ochieng never went to the ODM nominations.
I know.
So there is no question of anyone denying him any ticket. Olago Aluoch has, for the past, 10 years, been in Ford, Kenya. It's only his first term that he went on ODM. Subsequently, he went to Ford, Kenya. He has never even contested the ODM nominations. So all these things of saying, I don't know, ODM is a party of dictatorship and giving the wrong examples, let's not insult the voters in Ugenya by giving wrongful examples and explanations. What is important here is that Raila did not go to Ugenya as he had promised, because he chose to allow the electorate to exercise their votes. It is also important to know that in Embakasi, Mawathe was the incumbent. So it's not that ODM lost. You don't lose what you don't have. Mawade retained his seat. In Ugenya, Ochieng was the immediate former MP. But after the last elections, he contested it. And that contestation was upheld all the way to the Supreme Court. So Ochieng recaptured his seat. So the idea of emphasizing and bringing the ODM party and bringing the Team Tangatanga into this, I think is completely misplaced.
So what you're trying to say is, Mawade, if he was an incumbent, then actually he will have retained his seat anyway.
No, there's an advantage of incumbency. So you don't say...
Which is what?
You don't say, as the media has been saying, that ODM lost. ODM did not lose. If Embakasi was an ODM seat, then they could have lost it. The Embakasi was a Wiper seat. Okay?
So see, these are semantics, aren't they semantics?
It's not semantics. Let me explain.
So what will be the appropriate word?
I can explain it in Luo.
That's how difficult
I can even explain it in Luo. It is very simple. Deba.
Yes.
Embakasi was an Wiper seat. It went to contestations in court and the by-election was ordered. But Mawade retained his seat. ODM didn't lose because it was not an ODM seat. That's what I'm saying. In Ugenya, you could say ODM lost because Chris Karan was then the incumbent. But he was the incumbent for a very short time because the seat was previously held by David Ochieng.
All right, okay.
Yes.
Let me ask
that's all I'm explaining.
let me ask you before you continue. So if you were maybe the editor today and you have the Daily Nation which is holding this particular headline today, how would you have refreshed this particular headline today?
I would say, which one?
I would say a Daily Nation. You have the Daily Nation there.
Election loss. Election loss, not a big deal.
Well, how would you have put the headline today?
No, I have no problem with this headline.
No, I'm
I
just saying
have
because
an issue with the earlier one.
No, but there is a word loss that you're not really happy with.
What I have a problem with is the earlier one and the statement some of my colleagues were making that ODM lost.
But I'm giving you a
ODM,
sporting. No. I'm giving you a sporting just to give us a headline. How would
if
you
I was
read
the editor, I would say ODM fails to win. But let me continue now. Two, I think it is not fair to name call on account of Ugenya. I think it is not fair. Halwale here, who has been a friend of James Orengo for a very long time, now speaks vilely against Orengo because he has now moved to Team Tangatanga and has lost all his historical, leanings. Now, Jacoyo Midio, who is my friend, has historical beef with James Orengo in Siaya. And so he has to bring that to those angles.
So today
I think it is not fair.
To marinate really.
I think it is not fair to name call.
Yes.
I think a number of things. One, Jubilee did not have a candidate in Ugenya. And so, and people like my friend Aaron Cheruiyot, coming to claim all sorts of funny credit, I don't understand. Secondly, it is true, and every party has issues. Even we in ODM have issues. But we are the first to acknowledge it. It's only 1 month now since we held the National Governing Council meeting, which brings together all the members of parliament and a host of others and party chairmen and all. And we received the report from a task force that had been constituted to look into issues. It is true, and that task force was very clear, and it was in the open, and it raised issues, and those issues we undertook then, and we undertake now to link into them. But it is not, therefore, to suggest that ODM is the only party with issues. All parties have issues. In fact, if we were to go into issues, I think Jubilee has so many issues that you cannot even begin to talk about. But there is nothing like ODM dictatorship on this account.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think the last one, and the last one is this.
Your favorite son, eh?
I think.
No, give us any time. Give it a time.
I think.
He has to say something. He hasn't said anything.
I think what we should do. I think for me.
Today you don't have the constitution.
For me, because this election is not about the constitution. If we were going to contest it, then I would bring the constitution. But I told you that I personally advised Chris Karan not to contest these elections. I think it is fair to give the people of Uganda the opportunity to move on. I think that the direction that we are in Kenya right now is that there is no clear direction on many things, okay? And one of the things that in my view, contributed to Uganda is that in our region, we have always been very clear, and it's always a contestation on us against them. In the fact of the handshake,
Thank you.
and in the fact of there being a no Jubilee candidate, there was no us against them. And therefore, the people of Uganda had an independent choice to make without some big enemy. And that is the truth. And I think that is what democracy is.
Right.
And for me, it's not a big deal.
But let's look a bit on the democracy bit, because we have here David Ucheng also giving his reasons why he left ODM. He says, if we may just pick a snippet of it, where they're saying revisiting his exit from ODM, the politician said he got tired of the propaganda mounted to label his development project as Jubilee oriented. And you've actually listed some of the things that he's done with the colleges that actually he put up. He said people in the party who are not doing very much in their constituencies were against his rising star. The party machinery, quote unquote, the party machinery was not taking my views. There was a lot of suspicion about me and how I work. At some point, I felt that I did not want to go to Parliament. He said his walls were exposed as his bill seeking to change the election date from August to December was defeated for lack of quorum. My former party did not like people who are innovative or those giving their views. I thought I did not want to go through that, hence the birth of MDG. That was the reason.
Let him respond.
Yeah.
So you're talking about democracy, and you seem also to be a fairly independent mind as well. And I wonder, is ODM also giving you room to swing your cut as well?
Let us help him.
Let me make this statement. Let me make this statement, and then they can continue. One, the bar, I exercise independent thought. But I exercise independent thought in the context of belonging to a political party, which means there are times that I give views which are considered. There are times that I give views which are not considered. But if your views are not taken or not considered, you must understand, because it's a big context. So in David Ochieng saying that his views were not being taken, I do not agree with him to that extent. But I agree with him to the extent that if it comes to a point that you believe that your views are so ignored that you want to move, then you can move, which is okay. But I think what is important here is, by his own admission, and David Ochieng is a lawyer, he's my junior and he's my friend also, like Chris Karan. David Ochieng was not removed from the party. He moved himself, and that I think is the important thing. Nobody pushed him out. He moved himself when he thought that he needed to move.
He was
whether
frustrated
his
in the
reasons
party.
were legitimate or illegitimate is not what is important.
Is there democracy in ODM?
There's absolute democracy in ODM. I don't think there's any party that is more democratic than ODM.
Okay. Let's say for merit. Yes.
You know, if you want to know if there is democracy in ODM, you ask Jakoyo, not you ask Jakoyo, not Otiende. Jakoyo is an authority in that field. Anyway, you know, there's something that my good friend Otiende said that has left me in great shock. The fact that he contests this issue about ODM nomination and how it was carried out. You remember, there's something I have said on this show, and I still want to challenge you, Debal, because you're a credible media house. If you have any clips of around April 2017, when political parties were carrying out the nomination, I dare you to beam the nominations that were done by ODM, especially in Luo Nyanza. See, I have told you, you will never find any at all. If you go to the rest of the country where Boni Halwale comes from, you'll see something, people queuing and, you know, there being a rigorous debate about it. But the truth of the matter is that ODM as a party, as it is, a list is drawn up at Orange House, and that is what determines whether you are ODM candidate or not. Otiende may want to deny this, but the truth of the matter is that we sit in parliament with our colleagues from ODM party, and these are some of the things that they share with you.
that unfortunately, you know, Otiende, you may want to deny this, but it is a fact that is known to every Kenyan, most of the people of the region where you come from. That, for example, somebody like your chairman, John Badi never won any nomination. Karoli Omondi won the nomination, but he used his influence. Even Rasanga, your own governor, you know very well that Gumbo defeated him by more than 100,000 votes.
70,000.
70,000, but he never got the ODM certificate. Even moving closer, you know, man, I come from Kericho, which neighbors Kisumu, which is a hotbed of ODM. I know how they do their nominations. I know, for example, in the constituency that neighbors my county, that is Moroni, that Koyo won it, but instead ODM chose to give the ticket to Professor, what is his name? I think Olwen. You know, it is only the courts that save that issue. Therefore, Otiende, do not come to the panel on a bright, beautiful morning like this, struggling as you may be over all this issue, and try to mislead the country.
Are you suggesting I didn't win?
It is a
You can talk about me.
I normally don't like, I'm not the kind of person that speaks ill of my friends and their achievements. I leave it to your voters to know whether you won or you didn't. To be sincere, I'm not so keen on it. But the bigger issue that we should be discussing this morning is what became of the ODM of 2007, the one that we were all proud members of, and we donned their T-shirts and celebrated and said, there comes the birth of a new and a greater nation. You know, if you remember the campaigns and the vibrancy with which ODM ran and came into power in 2007, that people proudly belonged to. Virtually everybody, each and every member of what will be considered then the leading luminaries of ODM at that particular time have left, save for the party leader. Therefore, it is true to say that ODM is a shell of its former self when you look at what it has become. That is why, even in the last polls of 2017, apart from Luo Nyanza, where else did ODM dominantly win parliamentary seats? Absolutely nowhere. For a party that 5 years before that had won seats virtually in every corner of the country, that tells you there is a problem. And if these people, I do not wish that they reform because they are our competitors right now. I'd wish that the dictatorship that is there continues so that they continue losing and losing. Even that one dominant part of the country where you used to enjoy your dominance, that is in Luo Nyanza, it appears to be
let's give a final thought on this.
You know, just a final point. You must remember that even at one particular time, KANU was a machine in this country. It was a big party. Everybody used to belong and feel part and parcel of it. But slowly by slowly, it died region by region, constituency by constituency, until it is what it is today. That is where ODM is headed.
Okay, our final thoughts on ODM. Let's hear Jacob.
Aaron says he wishes it will not reform. I think ODM is ODM leader. He's a very pragmatic leader. You will see changes. In fact, when he says the loss is not a big deal, because he has thought how to reform. Because on Friday, Raila was in Awendo, and he said the report which Otiende has alluded to has very bad things, and the things are not right in his party, and changes will come. So this could never have come for him at a better time. So, Aaron, you will not get your wish that they don't reform. They have no choice but to reform because they are on rock bottom. Number two, I also don't think in that sense it is a big deal because even William Ruto's MP is an independent candidate from in Eldoret against a Jubilee candidate in the then elections of 2017. So that part is not a big deal. But the part which we are talking about as a big deal is that ODM is a rotten party. And Chariot will not get your wish because I know changes will come. However, let me say this, Deba. When Otiende says that Ochieng was not pushed out of ODM, he couldn't be more wrong. Because Ochieng has said in that article, which is what we are reacting to, that when he tried to change the date of elections, which required numbers with a constitutional change, we were all agreed. I was the one supporting Ochieng. In fact, I told Ochieng then that because you need numbers, let me be the one to second you, so that we can make sense out of this bill. What were we saying? that elections in August is so disruptive of the educational calendar, the education calendar. When we were called to a meeting in Wiper House, the young man was so chided, you would think Ochieng exercising his right as an MP was a crime. I stood with him. If you call him here next, he will agree with me. I do not have a personal tiff with Orengo, but I want to challenge Honorable Tiene to ask Orengo how he joined the ODM. Remember, Orengo was even a presidential candidate of SDP. I'm the one who sat Raila down and I told him, the two of you can lead us. There are many things Orengo can do that Jacoyo can't do. Talk to him about
SDP was Safina?
No, it was SDP.
Social Democratic.
Social
Party.
Democratic, yes. And even Anyang, I went to Anyang, I said, two bulls cannot live in one pen. You and Raila talk for good order so that our people are led appropriately. Because then, without them, we would have been reduced just to sycophants making noise for Raila without proper faces.
Thank you.
We did that, but I want to say this. I do have a tiff with him. Now, it's not historical.
Tiff with who?
Orengo.
Orengo.
Because I realized he doesn't mean well for Raila. And I know Raila is our leader. He doesn't. And I can go down the valley saying it. I even say if you go down the
don't you think
Handshake,
it's unfair for you to actually put him on the spot and he's not here to defend himself?
No, it is not him being fair to defend himself.
No,
because
he's not on the panel today.
No.
So you can't say...
Otiende raised it. Otiende said, the man, he opened the window and said, I have a historical tiff. I am defending myself that I don't know. I mean, that I don't have a historical tiff. What I have is the realization that he is not good for my brother. That is now being selfish. I know that for a fact. And if he was good for ODM, how does he give ODM 61 votes against 200?
No, he's not here to defend himself, so we can't actually continue that line of thought.
Dibal. So Dibal, let me just say the last thing. What Otiende says, that it was them, us versus them, in quotes. If in the spirit of Handshake, there was no us versus them, why were they bringing William Ruto's name in Ugenya? They did. William Ruto is the deputy president and the second highest man in Jubilee. So there was no, if you said there was not them, how did Ruto come in? Well, they went to campaign for Jubilee and Ochieng alipitia katikati.
All right. So you talk about reforms within ODM, and I want to ask you, if we perchance get ODM 2.0, a reformed one, will you go back to ODM?
Sure. If it is not
and
the
to
one...
you, how does a reformed ODM look like?
Number one, no organization which is credible can have acting officials since the week Kajwang died. How temporary is a temporary leader? No political party can be accused of a corrupt secretariat and survive. No body can lose over 100 MP to 66, and last week now they are now 64, and officials are intact. They went there. You know, Dibal, why this is personal to me, and maybe to some people who are not in your panel, because those officials went to Ugenya and said unprintable things about us. We said, let us stay away, let Ochieng, let the people of Ugenya decide. They did not stay away like now they are saying the people of Ugenya started.
Thank you.
They went to abuse us.
Right, finally, let's close it with Wamatangi on this.
Yeah, thank you, Dibal. And probably, let me open it by defining myself, because, you know, I've been challenged a lot by Otiende Amol. All the time, you know, he keeps on giving me different names. You remember? in the last time, in our last discussion.
We are coming back to your name.
Yes, I know.
What is the appropriate name?
But I just wanted to flag this out, because, you know, remember, he coined a term here, Kieletanga. And now you had him coining another one, and because I know there's that discussion that you're bringing about on that next subject you spoke about in Central Kenya region, Mount Kenya region, I know that we'll be featuring. So let me do that justice then. But Otiende, And maybe Dibali, you are the one who would need to explain that. So that I think we would be oscillating at that wavelength. That's why you said that he's fairly independent. So I don't know what you mean by, when you introduce the term fairly independent, you're saying that he's not really independent. And so my brother Otiende Amolo, I think in your answer also, please deal with Dibala on that. But I wanted to pick out on the first point that you made, because you give the impression when you spoke about ODM that the lack and failure by political parties to exercise proper party democracy actually right from nominations, even though there were no nominations in Siaya, in Ugenya. It's as though it's something that we should not, or you should not flag out and say clearly that one of the greatest undoings, one of the barriers that we have to overcome as a country in managing our politics and in our political democracy is dealing with political parties themselves. Because and Dibali did well to read out what the MP-elect Ochieng said as to the reasons why he left ODM, because that is what is ailing our political systems. We all come through that system. It doesn't matter which party you're coming from. At the time when you have to go get your ticket and stand with that political party, then that is your Waterloo moment for any person. And you can ask Otiende Amolo himself when he was going to get his ticket in ODM. You can ask any one of us here. And unless this issue is dealt with, because what we do, all of us, when it comes to nominations, you just have to barely survive on your own. And at that time, as you had Boni Halwale reading out all those names, it is a question of then who is preferred. You have to fight your way out. And I believe until we knit this out, our politics is still going to be murky. I had asked this question, and Otiende, you never came up with the answer. Sorry to have referred to you so many times, but would Raila have been knowing something that he knew that he didn't have to show up in Ugenya? That it was game shot, even if he had gone there? I mean, would he have had foreknowledge? And that's what I'm saying, Dibal, adding to the earlier point that I had made. All those projects you had that this young man had initiated in his sub-county of Ugenya. And I know Ochieng as a person, myself. And I can say he is a brilliant young man. Actually, if you have a sitting with that MP-elect, you will get to admire his mind, his thoughts. And that is precisely exactly what he said, which is true, that within political parties, it is very rare that you find somebody with a showing, somebody who looks like they have a mind that can move things. They don't get support in political parties. And I can say for sure, it is not strange. It is not unheard of that he would not have gotten support. Of course, I know the first law in the 48 laws of power says never change the master. But the first thing that these guys do, if you are in a political party, and maybe that is why also my friend Boni Harwale is facing the upsurge he's facing in Ford Kenya. If you look like you can do things differently, although you can move things, my friend, you have no support. I would want to urge Ochieng that let him keep up on that trajectory. I believe that is the way to change the country.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from Boni Halwale briefly on this, then we move on now to...
No, not briefly. Let me have my time, like my colleagues.
Briefly has shifted now to, because you're the last one. You know,
why did you call me here if you don't want to hear me? I think a word for you, my brother Amolo. There are a lot of professional colleagues of yours, some from your community, who have a lot of expectations of you vis-a-vis the future of the politics of this country and of your community. And it is the white man who said, if one wishes to conquer the oceans, then one must be prepared to lose sight of the coastline. The coastline in this case, my brother, is ODM and sycophancy to the leadership of ODM. Lose sight of those, and the future shall be all yours. Now, so that we don't make this debate to be a matter of Siaya, Ugenya, or Luos, let me speak to two constituencies. Embakasi, where there was also an election, and in Malindi, where there is a looming by-election. Raila should know that big brother syndrome of his, that assumption is that he's the alpha and omega, is the reason why people from a certain community refuse to turn out in Embakasi. Because he did not lose an opportunity to use political non-entities like Edwin Sifuna and Osozi to throw mud at the leadership of Fort Kenya and ANC. Our people just didn't turn out. And they are there in tens of thousands of voters. And we are the ones, Wetangula and I and Mudavadi, who are mobilizing those people in 2017 to vote NASA. He has paid. The second issue about not focusing not just on Ugenya is Malindi. ODM has lost touch with reality. Whereas people today are struggling in Kenya to achieve the two-thirds gender rule, in this corner, Kenya is struggling with that. But in the other corner, Raila is pitched there, mobilizing members of parliament to kick out a woman who is elected, not nominated, in a constituency that could have easily have gone to Mel's, Aisha Juma. I dare you, Otienda Molo, since they normally listen to the ODM, go ahead and expel her, and we are going to arrive in Malindi. And when I say we, I mean me included, because I know the constituency I hold in Malindi voters. We are going to defeat you at the by-election with worse numbers than you got in Embakasi.
Just to close this, since
I think we've closed. No. We need to dedicate time also.
Wamatangi asked me something, and Halwale has also asked me. Can I at least respond?
Give him a minute.
Okay,
They all asked me something.
Yeah.
First of all,
He's the man
today, Jakoyo and Halwale are really name dropping. They've called in a lot of people who are not here to defend themselves. To be fair, let us be very clear. A lot of people are blaming James Orengo for Ugenya, and it is misplaced blame. James Orengo took his time and his resources to lead the campaign in Ugenya, and quite honestly, he did very well. I agree that some of the utterances by some of us who went there may not have been appropriate. I did not spend as much time in Ugenya as I wanted, because I was in Tanzania on some meeting of the Great International Conference of the Great Lakes region. But I went there on two occasions, but I didn't spend as much time. It is true that some of the people who went there, including my governor, should not have said some of the things they said. In this age and time, you cannot threaten voters. You cannot tell them that if you don't vote for this person, I will dismember you in terms of resources. I think that was wrong. But that was some of what I said in terms of, some of those hundreds. That's a different thing. Secondly, Aaron Cheruiyot, please know this. We held nominations. And I can tell you confidently, and I've seen no ODM nominations for the last 15 years. Jakoyo knows, because I even participated in the nominations 10 years, 12 years ago. I think the last nominations of ODMs were the fairest that have ever been held. Yes. I think, and I can tell you confidently, and you are free to go and check this, even in Rarieda, I won by a massive landslide, and it took 8 hours for them to even announce me as winner after winning. Because they had to cross-check things, they had to do things, they had to do all sorts of things.
No,
so it's not an issue.
They were amending the list.
No. and it was even contested at all levels.
Or maybe
now, lastly,
don't make Jakoyo flip over.
Lastly, Halwale, when you bring in Malindi, be very careful. Because you are daring us to expel Aisha Juma. I want to tell you, we've already expelled her. We expelled her. So what you are daring us to do, we have done. Now it is your turn to tell her that if she is as confident as you are, and she's also my friend, let her accept that expulsion, let her resign so that we can go to a by-election with her not being on ODM. Then we can see the threat that you are making. Wait. No. Then we can see this threat. But you see, you're in a situation where she's been expelled, like you. She is saying that she would win, but she does not want to go the further step so that we can test this. Let us test it. Beyond that, Senator Matangi, you know, when you started, I thought you will finally answer us today.
Yes.
In terms of where you stand. Instead, you spent the entire time focusing on me. No, you know, I wanted to know whether you are Tangatangi or not. You've never answered that. Maybe finally today you will answer it.
All right.
I think lastly,
this is more than 1 minute.
yes, I think lastly,
Allow him today. He has
I think lastly,
We'll deny you time.
today,
These are the guys.
A man must
Dibal, I
explain
think
and
today, today, I think NTV made this day not to discuss the law. Because even the constitution today is not here. That's why I can't even quote the constitution.
We knew your tactics. You'll pull out the constitution last week. So
You will
today
have
you're
never read
denying
the same pages. Article 10,
article according. No quoting today.
Article
And I think this is where Matangi comes in. You see now the Daily Nation on page 5, why is Uhuru, or why Uhuru is losing Mount Kenya MPs to Ruto?
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us, Wamatangi, why do you think this, and you mentioned also the 48 laws of power
Yep.
by Robert Greene. Do not outshine your master.
Yes.
Is Ruto outshining his master in Mount Kenya?
Well, Dibal, I think the persons who wrote this article, in my view, really have very scanty information about the politics of Mount Kenya.
Exactly.
They just don't know what they're talking about.
It's true.
Because you know.
Have you read the article in the first place before? Yes.
I have.
So-
I told you I'm a subscriber to the Daily Nation, the e-paper, and it arrives on my portal every day before 5 a.m. So I precisely know what I'm talking about. I'll tell you, Diban, that the politics of Mount Kenya revolve around very different parameters from what these writers are trying to create here. In the first place, one, as far as the Mount Kenya ground is, other than for political expressions by individual politicians, actually there's no, and I hope they are sincere
for the sake of time, Wamatangi.
Yes.
For the sake, because we have 11 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to be get pointed answers and pointed questions to
Absolutely.
you. Is there a Tangatanga and Kieleweke within Jubilee?
now.
And where does it belong?
No, just answer that. Just answer yes or no. Please, because of time.
That is absolutely not fair. What you just do is give me the independence of expression and observe a timeline. Don't tell me what to say.
Listen. No, listen to me. Just a moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, slow your roll. Just a moment.
You know, Dibal.
Listen to me.
You are trying to create a narrative, or you want me to subscribe
No, it's not
to
a narrative.
No,
No.
do not.
Yes.
I'm saying something very, very simple.
No, just a moment.
Just
Just a moment. Just a moment. I am telling you, we are only remaining with 11 minutes. We cannot be so
Where?
elaborate right
You
now.
are right.
So
Where?
how many minutes do you want me to make?
Kielekanga.
If you say 2 minutes, you don't know, I can express myself and say
Look at the time he's using to argue.
So just give my time of 2 minutes. I'll
listen,
say what I want
Wamatangi.
to say.
No,
We won't donate
will
our time to
dedicate- we will
Wamatangi.
dedicate
Please
this show.
We've donated our time. Let's answer the question.
Can you now let me speak?
Yes, where?
Allow me now. I have a donation of time.
Now answer.
From
I
the
have
fairly
donated mine,
independent
yes.
Otiende Amono. So can I have now my time? Dibal, you have tried so much to push this down my throat. Can I say what I have to say about what is written here?
Okay.
Yes. Boni Halwala, my question here is, the narrative on page 5 is Uhuru losing ground in Mount Kenya to Ruto. That is the question you asked me. Can I answer you now? As far as we are in Mount Kenya, what we know is that we elected a party called Jubilee, with a president called Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and a deputy called William Samoei Ruto, period.
And this other narrative that has continuously thought to be created, and this is what I would be saying even to the writers of this article. Actually, if they thought that they're doing either themselves or anyone a favor, they're not.
Okay.
We stand as we went to the elections, and they misread history, if anyone would be thinking this way. The people of Mount Kenya, one, we are resilient. One, we are thoughtful. One, secondly, we also know where we are going.
All right, thank you.
After the time comes, when we have to go to the election, we know what to do. We know where we are. We are founding Jubilee. And as far as we are concerned, they are not two arms.
Okay.
You've not heard Uhuru saying that I'm against Ruto. You have not heard Ruto saying that I'm fighting Uhuru. Exactly. So can that narrative be dealt with and put where it belongs?
Okay.
The question is, where am I? And that is the question that he asked.
Yes.
I am precisely where and what I have said, that I belong to Jubilee, the Jubilee that we went to the votes to elect in 2013 and 2017, which believes that we have a president called Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and a deputy president called William Samoei Ruto. That's where we are.
Thank you.
And so these other narratives of that there's a team here and another team trying to fight.
You're not aware.
Jubilee is solid. And my politics is this. Between now and the year 2022,
Thank you.
I am working to serve the people of Kiambu and the people of Mount Kenya region until such a time.
Thank you very much,
to
Wamatangi.
make a political expression by vote.
Okay, so you're not aware that there is a Tanga team and the Kieleoke
there
team
are so many
in the
political
public
formations,
lexicon.
by the way. I have a political, I have my own team
Thank
that
you.
I move around.
Thank you.
If you want to brand it and give a name, then you'd have to have a name.
He won't respond.
You know, off cameras, I think when you took a short break, I think it is Otiende Amolo was saying, you know, since actually they raided Wamatangi's business.
Yes.
Yes, he's been fairly quiet.
Absolutely not. Let me tell you, Dubal. Let me clear that once and for all.
Yes, please.
By the way, Dubal, you know, most of the time you don't know the man until you have known his background. I am not the kind of guy from the places I've come from. You need to know my history. I have come a long way down from the ruins up to where you see me today. I have seen it all. That is nothing. You know, I told you I'm a son of a single mother who passed away, so now I'm an orphan and a firstborn in a family of 6. And I have risen from a no one to where I am today by the power of God and the effort of my work. And I have failed, fallen and risen. So that should not even, it's not even a factor. By the way,
Wamatangi is an orphan.
by the way, let me tell you, if there is one thing I would want Kenyans to know, and especially the people of Kiambu who have entrusted me with leadership as their senator, is that not anything that will happen to me personally can deter me from my goals. The goals to serve my people, to ensure that I stand for a political philosophy that surpasses the temporary.
Thank you. And and of course, I'm saying this with Matang family in Chik. You understand? Thank you. Right. Briefly, we have less time.
I'll be very brief. Matangi, we can't sympathize with you that you are an orphan. No, even by you saying you are from rags to riches, come on, you had your chance. We will sympathize. When we go for tea, I will sympathize. But now, no. But you will not live with any. You will not live with any on this one. Let me just tell you, because even Raila's mother and father is dead. Even Jacoyo's mother and father is dead. Even Otiende's mother and father is dead. Yeah. I don't know about the Tim Tangatanga's parents, but the thing is, so we are all orphans. We are even orphans. But now this is the only country where a rich man can say, I came from nowhere. I used to be a chicken seller. No, the poor ones are even the worst plunderers. But Wamatangi is not one of them. Wamatangi, I want to say I've had today. You're not wrong. But I wanted to say this, Dibal.
Please.
No, it's good to have fun sometimes because now, the problem the Senator Wamatangi is having is the same one Otiende is having. Otiende is saying, for example, that he disagreed with his governor for saying bad things and then says the ODM elections were the most democratic, while they went to announce the winners of Kisumu, the winners of Kisumu County,
Chakoyo.
70 kilometers from
Jubilee.
Kisumu.
We're on
Wamatangi knows. Wamatangi knows. I am just giving. You can't. These two are like they are handshaking. But the Wamatangi is saying a very interesting thing. When you see Burathe being bastardized by Team Tanga, and he says there's no problem in Jubilee. When you see Commander spewing those things they do in churches every Sunday, and then you see Cheriot and Murkomen calling them names.
Those are called personal opinions.
No, they are not personal opinions. Those are a Jubilee opinions. Let me tell you, there will never be a day in this country that Jubilee will go into an election like it did in 2017, or ODM will, or NASA, so to speak. I've said that here before. We are in a forward progression, and Wamatangi,
Yes, sir.
you will not have the same opportunities that you had in 2017. Just accept it.
That we had in 2017.
To steal or to stay together as two at a tribal cocoon.
Are you insinuating Wamatangi stole?
No, I am saying Jubilee, not
Okay,
Wamatangi.
thank you.
Stole votes,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right.
No,
Thank you.
money.
Thank you.
Votes,
Let's hear from Boni. Boni.
Yes, I think there's mischief in this headline.
There's what?
Mischief.
Mischief
That
in the headline?
Why Uhuru is losing Mount Kenya MPs to Ruto. This is intended to incite
Could we have the headline,
some
please?
people to think that Ruto is undermining the president. As far as I'm concerned, Ruto is the deputy president and deputy party leader of Jubilee. And since Mount Kenya is the bedrock of Jubilee, obviously, when it is clear that on the horizon the president is leaving, obviously the electorate in that area will embrace his deputy.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, no, I'm listening.
Yes, will embrace the deputy. Allow me, now that I say I've made a bit of time for myself, to make just two comments.
But remember, you donated your time as well. Huh?
I'm sure. I'm
Please,
sure
so you cannot. You are just supposed to wait.
But he didn't take, so.
because I know I will not have another chance.
Okay, please.
I have something which is burning me, gentlemen. There's something. It is in the papers today, but we have not had time to bring it up. But I want to speak to the Judicial Service Commission and Chief Justice Maraga. Today, they are proceeding with the Tribunal of Justice Ojwang. We are expecting more. There are many other Kenyans who have also sent their petitions in respect of other judges at the Supreme Court who actually were bribed, like in the gubernatorial petition of Wajir. Why are they pursuing this small one of Ojwang, which has got something to do with a road being constructed to his home, and leaving the ones of outright bribery? Let me tell you, it's foolish for you to pursue Ojwang for the road, because that road that was built, it is not Ojwang alone who drives on it. Even motorcycles in Siaya, they drive, not in Siaya, in Migori, they drive on that particular road. We want the Judicial Service Commission to make a decision on the other more compelling petitions that are in respect of outright corruption.
So you're saying this road is not really compelling as an evidence?
It is not compelling. Nobody owns a road in this world. A road just passes at your place and you pass there.
but-
he deserves that.
But how do you want a road to be? You want this road to actually be rolling back? He uses it, then he rolls back to his house, then he rolls out when he wants to go?
I think Halwale has made his point, so let him finish so that I finish.
Okay.
Yes, then.
Then my final point, because I'm not coming again, is you stopped me, don't stop me again. I wanted to congratulate the owners of Ipsos Synovet for throwing away a quack called Tom Wolf.
No. I won't allow you to call him a quack. You don't have any evidence that he's a quack, so I don't know.
Because this is the guy.
No, Boni, that one I will not allow.
Whether you like him or you
Okay,
don't like
let me change English.
Yeah, yes.
Let me change English.
No. On that comment, I know now your frame of thought.
Let me give my.
You're done.
Let me give my final remarks.
This is
First of all,
dictatorship.
Yes, it is on my show. Okay.
very quickly.
Just a moment.
Very quickly.
Okay,
First of all,
Otede, we're
this
winding up.
needs-
Yes.
we need to. Halwale, let me clarify this, because I've seen somebody taking it out of context. Yeah. I have advised my friend Chris Karan not to contest the outcome of the election. Not that I advised him not to contest. That is very important. That's number one. Number two, I think, and we can discuss this another time, I think that the headlines are not misleading. The deputy president is undermining the president, and we can have that discussion. Number three, Wamatangi was given the time, and I donated mine to clarify whether he is in Kieleweke or Tangatanga. I can only refer him to page 6 of the Nation. Wamatangi is living in denial. And as long as he keeps living in denial, we will call him Tangatangi. He must now be Tangatangi until he clarifies. Lastly, I think that, and I agree with Boni Halwali on this, that tribunal by Onojuang is a subterfuge. And it's unnecessary, but I will not go on it. But Dibao, I'd like us to focus on the presidential speech maybe next week.
Next week,
because there's a lot that we need to discuss around there.
Thank you, man. Aaron Cheriot, briefly, we'll come to you, Matangi.
On this headline, I do not agree with it.
Which one?
The one for why Uhuru is losing Mount Kenya MPs to Ruto. I do not think at this point we can have a discussion on whether there's a choice between Uhuru and Ruto. They are not in any competition. One is a president, the other is his deputy. One is a party leader, the other is his deputy. But having said that, there's something that I must say to my party leader and his deputy. The fact that we are having this discussion tells you that all is not well within our party. You hold the positions that you do in trust of the millions of Jubilee party supporters who believed in our vision and our dream for the country.
Thank you very much.
Until you rest the issues that are brought forth, you are not doing it fair to them.
I'm under the gun myself as well. Jaco, 30 seconds.
I think I've exhausted my thoughts, but
you've exhausted. Thank you.
The JSC issue that has been raised by Boni, I think Otiende needs to take it up as a member of parliament and as a lawyer, because I do not think that it is right that a judge refuses to appear before his employers.
Thank you.
Then he is pushed to a tribunal. The tribunal seems to be crafted to clean him, because where are the people who accused him going to get their justice?
Thank you. Yes. Let's leave it at that. Omatagi, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I think I must conclude, Otiende Amolo, that my opinion and where I stand is really very, very important. I didn't know that I am such a political influence, such that
Thank you.
That Otiende Amolo would not find sleep because he doesn't know who I am. I want to state firmly that I'm still in Jubilee now. Diban, my closing comment I wanted to make on this story about this lady Eva, who lost her life after giving birth to quintuplets. And first, I want to really convey my message of condolences. We celebrated this. I can tell you how elated I felt. It was wonders for me when I heard that she gave birth to 5 babies. I just hope and pray on behalf of Kenyans all over this country that this mother did not lose her life, probably out of any medical negligence. I just pray, because it is such a sad thing, and you can ask any Kenyans how we all felt. I mean, it was the 6th wonder of the world, the 8th wonder of the world, to hear that this mother gave birth to 5 healthy babies, and then just to hear that 2 of them died, and then she lost her life. I mean, I want to wish the family well. I want to put them in God's hands, but also ask those that were taking care of them in the hospital.
Thank you.
I mean, look back and see, did anything go wrong?
Thank you.
And correct it.
Right, and I think we'll dedicate a time here when we can talk about maternal health care in this country, because it's a big thing. Boni will allude to that. And it's not just Evelyn, it's many women who are really suffering. That will be also a good debate as well. But I want to also wind up with Fanny Kwega. She's saying, it's funny, no Jubilee member wants to acknowledge the division in their party. None can bring themselves to say there is Team Tangatanga and Team Kieleweke, and that in itself is an answer to the question. Right. Thank you very much, Fanny. Have a lovely day.